Hello and welcome to Beatrice's Weekly Health Tips. Today I'm going to talk about a very controversial subject, the subject of vaccines. So this is a big problem for us natural practitioner because more and more we see that children are reacting to the vaccines that they are injected with. So the first question to ask ourselves is, are the vaccines useful? I would say that in principle they are. The idea of training the immune system is not a bad idea because, of course, there are nasty viruses out there, and two of them are certainly polio and tetanus, which are extremely detrimental to health. And yes, I believe that polio and tetanus have been eradicated because of vaccines. The problem that we have today, there are many problems that we have today, but one issue is that we have way too many vaccines nowadays. Like I said, polio and tetanus, it may be a yes. If I had a child, I would vaccinate for those two. But I would certainly not vaccinate for either rubella, chickenpox, mumps, measles, etc., because these childhood diseases are actually necessary for the immune system of your child to build up and to get strong and to get trained. It's a in training type of immune system, and you need to have your child exposed to all kinds of viruses and bacteria and all kinds of things in order to develop his or her immune system. So I would certainly not do those if it was my child or my grandchild. Problem number one is that we have too many. Problem number two is that a vaccine stimulates only one part of your body-specific antibodies. So yes, it may develop antibodies against measles, for example, but that becomes very specific around measles, and it doesn't help for your immune system to train and develop antibodies against bacteria, against other viruses, against fungus, against all kinds of things. So it's good to train your immune system on one hand, but on the other hand, it's too specific. That's what I'm saying. Problem number three, the vaccines are active only for a certain period of time. They're not active for the rest of your life. So you need to get re-inoculated. You need to do boosters, second booster, third booster, etc., in order for the vaccines to be effective. And number four problem, probably the biggest problem, are all the excipients that are present in vaccines. So the biggest one that we know of is certainly mercury. Mercury was, and it still is in some vaccines in a different form, as thimerosal. Thimerosal has been recognized as one of the causes of autism. It's not the only one, but it's certainly one of the causes of autism. It affects the brain of our children. It affects the amygdala. The amygdala in the brain is the center of control of our emotions. So we may understand a little bit better why autistic children, most of them, have a very hard time to control their emotions when you say that the part of their brain that is controlling emotions is deeply affected by the poisonous effect of thimerosal/mercury. In 1980, we had 1 out of 10,000 children diagnosed with autism. Today is 1 out of 35 children. We went from 1 out of 10,000 to 1 out of 35. I think that we have a big problem there. And a lot of our medical system is not recognizing this. However, it is a real, true problem that a nation, United States, is facing, but many other modern countries, of course. In the Journal of Neurotoxicity in January 2005, I'm quoting, it says a small amount of thimerosal damages the cellular membranes and creates cell deaths 3 hours after exposure. 3 hours after exposure, it creates cell deaths. Do you think this is innocuous? Do you think that your children are going to come out totally safe after 36, 40 something vaccines or 70 something vaccine by the age of 3? No, it's impossible. I totally believe that over vaccination is one of the major causes of autism. So mercury has been reduced in vaccines, thimerosal has been removed, and what the pharmaceutical company found out is to replace that with aluminum. Aluminum is no better than mercury in the brain and the immune system. We know for sure, it's been proven that aluminum is found and is causing Alzheimer's disease. It's a powerful neurotoxic. If it was only heavy metals that we would find in vaccines, maybe our bodies, our wonderful immune system bodies, could deal with that. The problem is that in most vaccines we found a plethora of chemicals, such as acetone, phenols, 2-phenoxyatenol, which is an antifreeze, formalin, formaldehyde, which is used to preserve dead pieces of tissue that we use in laboratories. They also put animal protein because most of these vaccines are developed on chicken or monkeys' tissues. And because of the chicken and a lot of these vaccines contain albumin, so the protein of the eggs, we have more and more, I believe, children suffering from egg intolerance because of the fact that it is in a lot of vaccines. Another problem with these vaccines is that we're lacking scientific studies after 5 years. So we vaccinate your children, and there are studies showing the effect of the vaccines during the next 5 years. But then after that and beyond, at 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, there's nothing, there's not one study that is looking at what these vaccines did to you. And I believe that it did a lot of things, negative things, controversial things, but I believe that deeply. I've not been vaccinated as a child. My parents chose not to. I don't have any children, but I would never vaccinate my children. I think it's highly dangerous. It's high risk. Yes, you have a risk with disease, but yes, life is risky. You can be hit by a truck anytime. You can have anything falling on you when you're walking in the street. Life is a risk. It's a question of measuring the risk, of course. And when you measure the risk of vaccines versus the risk of viruses, diseases, I take my chance with the disease and the viruses. I take my chance with Mother Nature. And I believe that my strong immune system today, one of the reasons I have a strong immune system is because I have not been vaccinated. It's a case also for my 2 nieces and my nephew, which have never been vaccinated. My brother was not vaccinated. Numerous parents in my clientele have not vaccinated their children. And I can tell you that all these kids are super duper healthy. They are stronger. There's evidence that they're stronger. Look in the Weston Price Foundation Baby Gallery. I receive their newsletters every trimester. There's 2 pages in there called Baby Galleries. These babies have been fed properly. The mother was feeding herself properly. And most of the parents decide not to vaccines. And you'll see how radiant they are, how their eyes are keen and alert and how they learn. I believe that vaccines are slowing their little brain down. It's a disaster for me, for my patients. Another problem is that we have multiple vaccines. You know, when you do an inoculation nowadays, you have 5 or 6 or 7 vaccines that are inoculated all at once. This is absolutely not possible in Mother Nature. You would never get 6, 7, or 8 viruses all at once in the same day. If you think about it, this is not logical. So, what to do when you're a parent? What to do is always the dilemma. I could talk about vaccines for about 3 days because there's so much that needs to be said. And if you want, it's not if you want, I think you should educate yourself as parents in order to make your decision, to make an educated and informed decision. So there are several tools and several things that you can do. First of all, there is a movie now out there that is called Vaxxed. Waxed. Vaxxed. Sorry, I'm mixing my French and my English now. So Vaxxed is a very informative movie that will explain to you the detrimental effect of vaccines. Then there's 2 docu-series that I have really appreciated that came out last year. The Truth About Vaccines by Ty Bollinger and Vaccines Revealed. You can find books certainly on the subject. There are many of them and many articles. I belong to a association in France that is for educating parents about vaccination. My parents actually belonged to this association before I was born. I think the key is really to inform and to educate. Don't make any decision without having really put your thoughts together, your husband, your wife together, your family, in order to make the best decision for your family. Most importantly, you need to feed your children very, very well. And that's why I'm making these podcasts. The next podcast will be about healthy diet for healthy babies. If you choose to vaccines, you can do things to alleviate or to temper down the effect of the negative effect of vaccines. One of them is homeopathy. Homeopathy has a system called isotherapy, where you you take, homeopathically speaking, a dose of the vaccine that was inoculated. And this will re-educate your immune system to get rid of the side effect of the vaccination. You need to be sure, if you vaccinate, that your child is not sick, no disease, no fever, no allergy, no digestive issues, because as you know, it's the gut flora that keeps our digestive system or immune system in check. So the more healthy the digestive system of your child is, the better chance that you have that he won't react to any vaccine. But if your child has acid reflux, colics, stomachache, please don't vaccinate. Treat that first. You can also use charcoal and chlorella right after the vaccination in order to absorb the toxins. Again, those aluminum, mercury, acetone, formaldehyde, all these cochonneries in French, these stinky things and nasty things that are included in the vaccines. Chlorella and charcoal absorb. That's all they do. They just chelate. And these toxins will be encapsulated by the charcoal or the chlorella and rejected through the stools. So that's my basic recommendations for you. If you want to know more, dig into it, do your research. Don't do any decision without thinking. Don't be feeling that you're forced to vaccinate, because you are. at the doctor's office, you are. Just take your time. You can also contact Dan Doctor. Dan Doctor stands for Defeat Autism Now. And they may help you to do the vaccination at a slower pace. They may also delay. They may also tell you not to do all the vaccines. There's a certificate that you can do if you have allergies or your child does. There are many ways that you can help yourself. So I wish you a wonderful week. Next week I'll talk about healthy diet for healthy babies, which is absolutely crucial if you want to have healthy kids for the rest of your lives. Have a great week. Talk to you next week, and don't vaccinate. Bye.